Yeah, Venerable sirs, sisters and Dhamma friends, as you all know that this is the time for our question and answer session. As usual, there are written questions are there. I will start with the English questions and then towards the latter part of the session, I will go for the single one. Meanwhile, if anyone has any comment or questions or anything, topics, welcome. Meanwhile, I will continue with this already written questions. After a deep meditation process, is it healthy to get off to normality immediately, or is it there a better way to descend to real life? Please give an answer. It's a question of what is the normal life and what is the real life. If someone thinks this mess as the real life or this normality, this is the question. Whatever may be that in the inside meditation, this is not much of a problem because throughout you try to see things as they are. But if you are doing a concentration meditation, whatever the terms using as the normal life or real life, whatever may be, when you are coming out, it is not equal like vipassana way, that better to do it in slow phases rather than directly changing from complete concentration to the complete the day-to-day activities, because lack of insight and how to handle it may cause some kind of a friction. As far as the understanding in the reality as such, and understanding regarding the day-to-day life in the normality as such, that's a very classic way to explain the seriousness. The weight of this question is when a space shuttle taken to the moon and is burning huge amount of fuel tanks and kind of thing, ultimately the shuttle only coming back to the earth. When it is coming to the earth, when it is entering into the atmosphere, if it come and have a direct impact, it will burn and burst and finished. And if it is going to horizontal way, it will never enter into the atmosphere. So therefore it has to take 6 degrees. Of course they have given the angle which must be entering to on the way back, entering into the air, exactly up to the 100 decimal point, the shuttle must be controlled. Otherwise it will bump and go there to the space. If it comes directly, it will burn and burst. When it is coming, it has to come in such a way, it's a very light angle, somewhere around 6, and then going in a number of rounds, cutting through the thin layer of air, and then, still then, the shuttle is burning its outer core during the impact. It is coming from the no air, no gravity, and then entering into the atmosphere. It has to calibrate the angle up to the 100th decimal point. Otherwise, the impact is so much. So exactly the way, when the mind is completely gone to the no desire level, and when it is coming and entering into the desire, the impact is there. So you are the one who knows the both, the non-gravity and the gravity, the desire and undesire. When you are coming back to the desire, world of the desire, it must be very mild approach, not direct plunging into that. So therefore angle is very important. That is why this question happens. So therefore each time after a retreat, when you go home or after a very good sitting, you get up and go, you feel this difference. And Vipassana way, the mindfulness way, is always precautious, and because it is preparing yourself to adopt into the things as they are. But the concentration is lacking on this kind of adaptation. So if you are doing a full concentration meditation, you have to take little precaution, just like a returning shuttle. When it is entering into the own atmosphere, it must be particular angle, otherwise it will give too much of impact and it will burst. Dear Bhante, I have struggled to find concentration with Anapanasati in my retreats. It has always been difficult. Success were short-lived and momentary. I can know and feel the thoughts trying to wander. Yet it cannot be stopped, except sometimes. In Maha Rahulavada Sutta, Reverend Rahula requested the Buddha to teach him Anapanasati. Buddha suggested to meditate on 5 elements: body, body parts, divine abidings, ugliness, impermanence, before attempting the Anapanasati. Should I do what Reverend Rahula was asked to do, better or do before Anapanasati? That way I might be more successful. Thank you, Bhante. So, in the Sri Lankan way or in the traditional Buddhist way, always it says you have to do the preliminary meditation, specifically Buddhanusati Mettacha Maranang Asubhasati, recollection of the virtues of the Buddha, loving kindness, recollection of the death and the repulsiveness of the body. And then only your mind become prepared to go for serious meditation like Anapanasati. That was the traditional outlook in Sri Lanka, specifically 50 years ago. But now some people directly start with rising and falling of the abdomen or Anapanasati. So therefore the traditional people are not happy for this radical method. There may be some cases like this where that find the concentration is not directly happening, and therefore have to do some kind of a compensation with particular techniques like Asubha Bhavana and kind of thing. But when you are reading the Anapanasati Sutta, of course this Rahulavada Sutta you have, and when you go to the Visuddhimagga, you have 40 other objects of meditation, basically towards the concentration meditation. But Anapanasati Sutta, when you are reading, you can understand, before giving this Anapana, the full-fledged analysis, the Buddha himself see the theme upon which he is going to deliver the discourse, and he finds there are number of monks, they are acquainted with all these kind of meditations. And Buddha give in the sutta you get a whole list. Considering everyone, the Buddha wanted to get the most versatile one, most applicable one. That is how he select Anapanasati. And if you get some quotation from the monastic code, usually it is not in the Sutta Pitaka, Vinaya Pitaka, the Buddha says Anapanasati Samadhi Bhavito Santocheva Panitocha Asechanakocha Sukocha Viharocha Uppanne Papake Akusale Dhamme Antaradhapi Upasameti. And he said, the Buddha says, whenever you develop the concentration through the Anapanasati, it is very serene, very good, and it need not any external thing, it is already given. And it is cut through all the defilements, something like a rain happening in this midsummer, all the dust will be cut off. So Anapanasati is such a thing, can take care about lot of the turbulence, even at the beginning, at the middle also. So therefore, Anapanasati easily we can recommend for as a panacea, as starting point for any person. But on the way, while you are doing, if you happen to see that your mind is always irritated by a hatred, therefore you can't continue the meditation with Anapanasati, then you have to think about lubricating the mind with loving kindness. If the mind is always obsessed with the desire, then you have to think about the repulsivity of the body. If you find it is postponement, all the time I can do tomorrow, I can do later kind of thing, then recollection of the death. And if you find lethargic and no self-encouragement, then you have to use the recollection of the virtues of the Buddha. So therefore you have to be sensitive as to see what is the main distraction. And if it is persistent, and if it is not rectified by itself in the Anapana, definitely you have to consult these 4 guardian meditations. But it seems, here the question, I have always been difficult to success. It has always been success. Success were short-lived and momentary. I can know and feel the thoughts trying to wander. These appearing thoughts during the Anapana, amidst of little bit of success, it may be a good sign. Because thoughts were all the time in our mind. But when the mindfulness and the concentration develops and the breath becomes subtle, the background thoughts become more amplified, more vibrant. And that indicates sensitivity of the mind increases. So it is maybe a reason to be encouraged rather than discouraged. So see the relationship as and when the breath becomes subtle and mind becomes well focused face to face, the thoughts are becoming amplified. But these thoughts have no any message. It is not addressing to you. They are just inner thoughts. They are background thoughts. So if you know how to tackle them, that is the way you are see through the thoughts and still you can see the breath. If that is the case, you can see through the thoughts. The best thing is to consider this as an advanced exercise and try to see through the thoughts and try to be with the breath. And there, mindfulness is developing its versatility, whereby you can catch it in the electric way, you can catch it in a adventurous way. So when you are in the thoughts, you have foregone the breath, you are in the thoughts, and you come to know the mind is wandered off. My mind is with the thoughts, daydreaming, fantasizing, and gone away. Soon you come to know, sometimes the mind reverts back to the breath. Or it can take the chance to entertain again and again on the thoughts. You find difficult to bring it back to the primary object, the Anapanasati. You have to be very careful, you have to be very observant, you have to be very sensitive on that. If when and where you come to know thoughts, if the mind is coming back to the breath, it's a very good sign to indicate now the mindfulness is going to understand unmindfulness. That's a very big leap and a chance to indicate that mindfulness is not only mindful on the breath, it is mindful about the unmindfulness. It is mindful about the wandering mind. That is why you come to know amidst of thoughts that you are away from the primary object. And that is one thing. And the second thing, soon you come to know if the mind is coming back to the breath, that is the part you have to appreciate. Without that, if you are always thinking about the wandering mind, you are really supporting defilement rather than the mindfulness. So therefore, observing it and see, each time it go out, you come to know. Whenever you come to know, if it come back to the thought, the in-breath and out-breath, you must rather appreciate the coming back to the in-breath and out-breath, then it is you can find a reason to be glad rather than discouraged. So therefore, it is not necessary to go back and do guardian meditation. You have to consider this as an advanced training, advanced exercise. And once you go through it, you'll be really encouraged. Your determination power will be increasing, the mental power increasing. So therefore, consider it as a challenge, consider it as an exercise, and appreciate the coming back journey. Coming back journey is always electric. It's always energizing. Only thing is you are not appreciating. If you are not appreciating, it is someone has to say it is sorry. There's no other way. Because you are finding other ways to compensate it rather than appreciating its own intrinsic, its own electric return journey. And that is the way you must apply your mind in the wise way. You must direct the mind in the radical way and wise reflection. Otherwise, you will always try to find other compensative methods. So much so, you are missing the bus. Without miss the bus, see this as a point to advance further. Venerable Bhante, could you please help clarify how some of systems discuss relate to our meditation? The three pillars of the Eightfold Path are Sila, Wisdom and concentration. There's also the Dana Sila Bhavana, Bhavana system or set. It is perhaps better to focus on Dana and Sila when we feel stick to our meditation. I presume so. As I understand, reaching jhana depends on eliminating of 5 hindrances. This is, as I understand, it says if someone is developing kind of a nikanti or magnetic the power or attraction or desire to the jhana, it is better to apply the mind to the lower kind of meritorial deeds like dana and sila, generosity or charity and constant moral training. That is the suggestion. But more radical method, more wise method is see this attraction, see this sticky nature, see this magnetic nature, then you can definitely make use this jhanic power or this concentration to go further and see dhammata and see the phenomena. Whenever this kind of a concentration happens, the attraction also happens. So, instead of going backward or rather going to the other kind of meritorial deeds, better to see the attraction, because this attraction never happened all of a sudden out of the blue. It happens slowly, slowly. So therefore, as and when the mind becomes slowly, slowly concentrated, your attraction, your addiction to the jhana happen within one sitting. And therefore, mastering it will give a radical way, will give a wise way, rather than going back to dana, because otherwise you will be meddling with very gross things or kind of active things and more vibrant thing rather than going to the calm and serenity of the mind. So therefore, dana and the other sila is giving kind of a agitation when compared to the concentration. So therefore, concentrated mind, you have to understand, and you have to understand the disadvantage of it, that is the magnetic power, and then you can make use this jhanic concentration for the, as a preliminary thing for vipassana meditation. Could you please give brief instructions or advice on the death meditation? Thank you. In a short, the death is in Pali called as mruta, mata. Sanskrit is mruta, Pali is mata, and Nibbana is called as amruta and amata. These two coming from the same terms. So many wish to have amruta or amata, that is to be in the bliss of everlasting peace. But one has to understand, you have to go to amata, you have to go through the mata. Through death only you can go to the Nibbana. I don't know tomorrow how many will remain here for if I am going to tell like this. But truth is that amruta happens through the mruta. Mata happens the amata means Nibbana is going to the death. So therefore, when and where you feel you are going to meet some kind of a new suffering, that's a representative of the death. The putting up your threshold value, immunity, is to face with more and more suffering, but still unshaken, still unmoved. That is why slowly you are going to understand the deeper layer of truth of suffering. The highest truth of suffering, the noble truth of suffering, is almost you are experiencing, whether you are going to sacrifice your body or the life, never mind, I will keep up my faith, I will keep up my energy, I will keep up my concentration, I will keep up my the mindfulness and the wisdom. So therefore, the Buddha says, I don't see any other shortcut to go to Nibbana other than the recollection of the death. Because if you are not recollecting the death, your tendency is to go for gratification of sensuous pleasure. More and more you remind the death, you feel, what is this all behind this gratification of all the sensuous pleasure? It is going to end up with the death. So therefore you get a chance to come into the middle. And therefore you will not hurt the environment. You will not hurt neighbors. You will not hurt all the other kind of thing, because you will come to the middle. So therefore you will be a person living in the normal way rather than these extremes. So therefore people, those who are living the life in the normal way, going to face the death in the peaceful way. If you are going to live the life with the full of sense pleasure or full of mortification of the self-mortification, towards the death you will be completely bewildered and you will be completely unprepared, and therefore those who are living happily will going to face the death happily. If you are not living happily, definitely you are going to face the death in a unexpected way. So therefore the Buddha says, recollection of the death is a very good way, so someone to come to the middle, in terms of the middle, and therefore he is in the middle path, reaching to the Nibbana, as well as his death also will be peaceful. So recollection of the death is a very difficult idea to sell in the Western world. They are very happy with the loving kindness meditation, and they think it is imposing of unwanted pressure upon the living thing that is in the go-go show, and the idea of death is very difficult to incorporate. But in the Asiatic countries, Eastern, they can fairly cope up with, and it has a special additional quick result. That is to say, if someone thinks that I am too young and therefore I can do my meditation in the latter part of my life, for the moment I have this and that business life. But the death have no compromise whether you are young or old. Whenever you come to know, at any time, death can come, and therefore it gives an urge to even for the younger generation to take up the practice seriously. And therefore, whenever you have the mentality of postponement, the recollection of the death is the antidote. So, recollection of the death, what you do is always you recite death. Life is uncertain, death is certain. Life is uncertain, death is certain. Life is uncertain, death is certain. Jivitang aniyatam maranang niyatang. Jivitang aniyatam maranang niyatang. So when you recollect it again and again, you are not going to overindulge the sense pleasure and use unjustifiable ways and hurting others in order to gratification in the game of gratification of the senses. So therefore the Buddha has given special recommendations or special appreciation for the death as a way, and it was a kind of a radical thing. From other religions, they are hardly talking about the death. They are always try to give more and more peace and peaceful life. But the Buddha says, if you wish to have a peaceful life, recollect the death as frequently as possible, so your life will not be much of abnormality regarding the environment. Venerable Bhante, in the practice, when we lose the perception of breath in our awareness, we reach a moment that transcends past, present and future. Is the concept of time based upon Rupa? Is it correct to state that if there were no Rupa for the mind to recognize or cognize, we lose the conventional description of time? Of course, Rupa itself is not the only cause for the time to manifest. It's a mixture of Nama Rupa, the mind and the matter both. But whenever this breath going to unperceivable level, it is not totally getting out of this time dimension, but you feel to a certain extent the memory is not working. You don't know how many seconds you were there, and you feel a gap, or you feel a jerk, or you feel kind of a loss of your memory. So it's a good suggestion that time, the present, past and the future go on, but you are fully living. But you can't express it. You can't relate to the time. So it's a good kind of a comprehension, but just mere by getting rid of Rupa, it won't happen. On theory, the mind cannot exist without Rupa, without materiality. But this is a kind of a state of matter. You go to a unperceivable level that does not indicate total absent. It is there, but it's very subtle. But the mind, the gross mind, read it as nothing. Or this is a kind of a slip. It happens. But without accepting this as the best, you have to still work as if there's a breath. You continue to be with there. And then you go deep layers of the subtle part of the materiality, and you go to the timelessness state, deep and deep. But in the Anapanasati Sutta, at the end of Chittanupassana, beginning of the Chittanupassana, there's one statement, Chitta parisangvedi asasi samiti sikkati, Chitta parisangvedi pasasi samiti sikkati. The yogi at that time reports, I can feel only the mind. There's no matter as such. But it is theoretically impossible, but that is the way our mind is interpreting it. You can't see any limits. Everything is limitless and no time. So therefore you feel you are fully living, you are not dead, you are not asleep, you are not unconscious. But there is nothing to see, no thing to see. But you are aware. So that is, in the sutta, appear like Chitta Patisangvedi. The particular person understands the mind base. It is there. And in the traditional interpretation, it is indicating some jhanic experiences like. But Anapanasati Sutta, passing the Vedanānupassana and Chittānupassana, is a completely on the insight line, insight meditation. And there you feel at a stage, it's only the mind are remaining. And you feel along the breath, there's a stage, you feel the rhythm of in-breath and out-breath in a very, very subtle way. You can't say it is a tangible or perceivable matter, but you feel it. But it is not attributable to any kind of materiality. Feel like you are only in the sphere of mind. So this is a way, comparatively, you can go to the state in the subtlety where there is no space and time working. Space-time convention is faded off. When I am doing breath meditation, I see the beginning, the middle and the end, and it lasts for a while. This has happened a few times. Then I don't feel breath in. Is this samadhi or sati? It is a good time to go for vipassana. If so, please explain how to go about it step by step. Since I am a beginner, I would like to get the correct way of doing it right from the start. I may not have this opportunity to have access to an experienced teacher. Please help me, Bhante. On this question, better to put it this way. Whenever I try to see the beginning, the middle and the end, sometimes you go to a place where the breath is almost perceivable, then what to do? That must be the simple question. Instead to say how to put into the vipassana, is this sati or is this samadhi, it's unwanted technical terms you put into the meditation and everything will be just inferential knowledge. So therefore what to do is experience this for longer time as much as possible. Longer the time, mindfulness will be consistent, concentration will be steadfast, then the meditation itself will teach you. Whether it's vipassana or samatha, or whether you are doing sati or samadhi, these labels are the poison to the future of the meditation. Remove all the labels, you try to be with the breath, and the breath is not there. Expect it to be more longer. There is nothing, but it must not be an imagination, it must be a direct touch. And more it becomes durable, the mind itself will understand what to do. And the great part of the meditation is finished, what to do. What is happening part start to happen. So there is nothing more you have to add or adjust. But very vigilant, very diligent. And whenever again, if the breath going to happen, just be welcome. And again it will disappear, again appear, again disappear. That indicates you are on the correct track. And rather than going to check whether it is vipassana or samatha, whether it is samadhi or it is sati, these labels will really disturb the smooth advancement of your meditation. Now you can say, this is the highest time in the meditation, you got the least amount of defilement. Still there may be, but to particular yogis' career is concerned, is a very appreciable level, least amount of defilements. Because the total elimination of defilement means the fruition knowledge or path knowledge. It has not gone up to that level, but you're on the way, slowly cutting through. And even at that level, the taints must be there, underlying, and anusaya, that underlying tendencies, latent tendencies may be there. You can't recognize it because they need the proper atmosphere to manifest. They can manifest at any time. Therefore, you have to give a long time, if at all they are available to manifest. Just like coming bubbles in the muddy place. You just observe and see how long you can keep this relatively pure situation. That is your facilitation. That is the thing you have to do it. And then you can understand, all of a sudden, something manifest. You don't know from where. And it's a matter of time. It's a maturity. It's a seasoning of the same thing. But the mind becomes titillated to accelerate it, to become smart, to cut short. So these things itself indicates the characteristics of taints, characteristics of undermining or latent tendencies. It appears like enthusiasm. It appears like it's a very healthy enthusiasm. Why should not I? Why should not I facilitate it? Why should not I accelerate it? Why should not I focus it like the ego is raising the head? So you have to let it happen. No, withdraw as much as possible. Try to see how much you can wait without doing anything. That is the way you deny the ego, you deny the conceit, you deny any views, let the things to unfold in its own way. This is a better atmosphere to cut off defilements, if at all available, even at the rudimentary level or undermining level or latent form. It's very difficult because our mind is so crafty. Our mind is so smart. Our mind is always try to be ingenious. That is the urge of this manifestation, of the fabrication, dispositions, and the volition, the will, the intention. So they can't wait. They are coming like accelerating. And so you have to just wait and see how even in such a calm situation, mind going to take the upper hand, the ego going to take the upper hand, the crafty mind going to take the upper hand. Don't support it, don't second it, let them come out with a lot of suggestions. You just wait and see. That is what it says. Expand the time. That is the only way of giving the instructions. I undertook Anapanasati meditation. Very quickly the breath disappeared from my awareness. A great magnetic force pulled inward and I experienced many thrills and titillations on the back. Within a few moments, it took the form of waves occurring at the back. Suddenly, I had no control. My body started to shake and I pulled in different directions. This continued for quite some time. My mind was one-pointed and the magnetic pull continued, along with the thrills occurring at the back, and suddenly shakes almost like waves crashing at the shore. The realization struck that I had no control over this physical and mental process. When the meditation finished, I cried. Each time I recollected my experience, how should a yogi observe this experience in the practice? Is it just a matter of observing this process? So this is the way yogi experience the process. What is the question? This is what you have to do. You have to sacrifice your likings and dislikings. You have to sacrifice your life. You have to sacrifice your body. Let the element characteristic to manifest it. Let the Dhamma or phenomena to happen. You must be a neutral observer, as if looking from an alien view, because you know your awareness is there, your mindfulness is there, and sometimes the concentration is there. You have to just observe. That is the task of the insight yogi. That is the biggest sacrification in the world. That is the biggest dana or biggest charity you can do, you are ready to give your life and the body. And that happens against the mindfulness, against the awareness and your past experience. And day by day you develop this brevity, the boldness to march forward, go forward little by little. That is how the reinforcement happens. And you can't copy someone else. And whatever the experience you can't get, you can't share with the other one. But everyone is going in the same way, but each one has to do by himself or herself. And when it happens, you see, you experience this, what I gain, the experience what I gain cannot be removed from me. Because it is originally coming from me, even though I heard from the Buddha, I did it, I experienced it. So once it happens, that will never erase from your memory, from your personality. So it's a kind of an investment, but it is at the risk of your life and the body. That is the heightening of your faith or your belief. Or this is the resolute faith, that resolution happening by your sacrification. Venerable Sir, please explain the asmimana and other types of mana. Could one attain Maggaphala during the walking meditation or during the daily activities? The asmimana is a very subtle layer. The early part of the gross layers, even thinning down happen at the early path knowledge and fusion knowledge. Asmimana is still remaining up to the final path and fusion knowledge. Asmi means that I am, as the René Descartes, he mentioned, I think, therefore I am. That was the basic thing in the Western explanation. And therefore, up to the Arahantut, whatever the kilesas, whatever the defilement you cut, you feel I am. That meditation is I am. Experience is mine. And what the kiles cut off is from me. But the knowledge gain is I am. Likewise, that Asmimana is continuing. And that is also cut off at the Arahanta Maggaphala Jnana, Magga Jnana. Until that it is there. So, even at the early stages, that when it is arising, one must not much worried about, because it's very deep-rooted, and you understand, even for you to continue, even for you to have the motivation, you must have this kind of a base. And that is slowly reducing. And the last drop will drop off at the fourth Magga Jnana. And the second part of the question, can the Maggaphala can attain the Maggaphala during the walking meditation? Definitely sure. And or even in the daily activities. One day the Buddha and the other some disciples were going. There was an acrobat. He is balancing his body on top of a bamboo tree. Bamboo upon bamboo he has put a pole, and upon that he is balanced. And the person who is balancing is happen to know the Buddha. So being up there, he paid the respect to the Buddha. And then the Buddha told, in your situation, you are liberated in your front, your back also liberated. Why don't you liberate the middle also? That was the riddle he given. On being on the bamboo tree, he became enlightened. So therefore, while walking and day-to-day activities, you are still not on the bamboo tree. So you have a hope. Please explain what choiceless awareness means. which is the singular word for it? Please illustrate with 1 or 2 examples. When does it happen with metta? This choiceless awareness is, I think, very common among the meditators, those who are reading Western books. So therefore, I would like to listen some other voices. Those who wish to explain some little bit about choiceless awareness. Anyone who wish to share? The question goes, please explain what choiceless awareness means. No support? Without the effort. So you are trying to relate the effort and the choice. Any other suggestion or refinement or any other views? Choiceless awareness means the effortless awareness. Without discrimination, or that indiscriminate awareness. Choiceless awareness has no discrimination. You just see as it is. Any other ideas? Okay, but if you had to little refine it in terms of a word, choiceless awareness, it's of course parallel thing we are talking about, being in the present moment. And how the being in the present moment justify the choicelessness? Or otherwise, what is the benefit of being choicelessly aware? Attachment. That means the choiceless awareness means the neutral awareness without the liking and disliking. Some more. Because it's a good question. In my person as like me, when I read in the Sinhala, when I read in Pali, I get the notion about particular idea, but even with the help of the dictionaries and others, when I read it in the English, it's a completely different perspective comes. And it becomes the multivarious and your idea become completely, somewhat completed. So therefore what I do is, read it in different languages and listen from the different people and try to reinforce the idea and refine it. So therefore choiceless awareness also quite helpful to give a precision rather to the synonym of mindfulness. So choiceless awareness is yet another attribution for the mindfulness, a synonym for mindfulness. But I hope the audience may have some more viewpoints, some more way of presenting it. Lessness, choicelessness. There's no choice. That means as if you are full, as if you have no any understanding or value or callousness, choicelessness. So one can see the negative also.
Can also be the most prominent thing. So the idea that you're not putting your mind onto the object, or you have a preconception about what should be the most prominent, what you allow.
So you let the impingements come in, but you are not judging. You are not projecting anything upon that. You just be aware. Let everything to come in. Getting more and more information, but you are not inferential. You are not judgmental. You are not rushing to a decision. You let it come. That is why that you can say due to the callousness, due to the ignorance, and if you are callous, if you have no senses, you can just be aware. And if it is the case, what is the use? And the other thing, when the desire and the hatred happens, still you be aware, and then what is the benefit you are going to get? Challenging and emotional and kind of thing. And still if you can maintain the choiceless awareness, what is the benefit of it? So likewise you have to look it from the different viewpoints, then only you can understand the pros and cons, the advantages and the disadvantages of the choicelessness. I will try to add two viewpoints. Choiceless awareness is expressed yet another way, evenly suspended attention. Now it's a huge crowd is here, different kind of people. You can be aware, evenly attention, evenly suspended attention, without give priority or without giving any labels. Just be aware. This is also yet another way of expressing the same evenly suspended attention. And then I would like to take a little further into the value or good and the bad of the choice. The world is full of choices, specifically for the human beings. Lot of choices. Having a choice is one of your endowment, your merits. But once you selected, you committed. That means you are rejecting the whole world. That is simply happening by simple selecting, simple choice. This is me, this is my liking and disliking. That means you are rejecting everything. And this one, what you selected, also at that moment it is maybe having a desirable and wish-fulfilling kind of approach, outlook. But soon that is also going to change, and when that happens, you will be disappointed on that also, and the other chances also gone, so therefore you are desperately lost. The choice is clearly related with the volition and intention and the will. The Schopenhauer, the German philosopher, he tried to see the will of a person. And before the Schopenhauer, even before the Schopenhauer, this question was there. We are creatures created by the omnipotent God. Do we have will? Do we have the choice? And traditional church, they told, you individual have no will. What you have to do is fulfilling the wish of the God, and the God will give the balance, but maybe you do. And therefore, devoted people consider that there is no will as such. It's a wish of the God and the wrath of the God and kind of thing. But the Aquinas, the saint, he came out and told, no, individuals have a certain amount of will, and it is not challenging the God. Therefore, teaching the particular person to be prepared is meaningful. And then the Catholic Church considered, and they found that Aquinas is not a heretic, what he is talking about. They accepted, and meanwhile the Saint Aquinas became the father of education. And Catholic Church was happy the invention of this will of individual person, and they start teaching. And later only this Schopenhauer, he analyzed it, and he accepted he has a lot of reading from the Buddhism, but not the complete body of the Tripitaka, but he has got a lot of parallelism with the Buddhism. And then he analyzing the will, he appreciated what the Saint Aquinas told. He told, of course there's a will, individual, but each and every will is evil. Each and every will is ill will. Never it help a person whenever he is going to choice. Because we are almost ignorant, so therefore our choice is almost going against the grain, going against our wish. though it is appear outwardly that we have our will, we have our choice, therefore I have my right to select it. But if you look at overall, whatever you selected has led to disappointment. So therefore it says, all your appointments are leading to disappointments. So therefore, why not have an appointment with the disappointment? That is what the yogi life is. And then onward, Western philosophy got a complete swing, and they at the beginning criticize the Schopenhauer telling is nihilist, and he says that each and every will is going to negative and kind of thing. And later the Nietzsche came, and the Nietzsche reiterated it, and then he showed whenever you give a chance to an idiot person, ignorant person, he always use it for against him. And Venerable Dhammajiva, he wrote a book on the Schopenhauer and Nietzsche, published in Buddhist Publication Society. He mentioned how nicely the Schopenhauer and the Nietzsche indicated that the Buddha says, Chetanam bhikkhave kammang vadami. Whatever the Chetana, whatever the will, whatever the volition, whatever the thing you are going to do, each and everything will be a karma, accumulating a karma and extending your samsara. It is kusala karma or akusala karma. So therefore, one has to be very careful whenever you get a chance, whenever you get a choice, how much we are rushing to the choice and how much our selection going to help and contribute to our final solace, the final peace. But in the canon, when you see, you can see traces, but it was not as sharp as Schopenhauer. So you have to read it and see, whenever you give a chance to a foolish, he never know how to make you sit in a patient way, in an indifferent way. Always he is rushing in order to use his chance, and by selecting what he do is, he rejecting the rest of the world, and what you have selected also not going to give any permanent peace, it is subject to the impermanent and end up with suffering. And he going to regret it. This is my choice, I selected, and all the suffering is mine, because my choice. But if you let the things to happen, and see things as they are, then still the thing will happen. Still the impermanence happens, still the suffering happens, then you can disclaim it. This is not what my choice. It came, it impermanent, it's suffering. It is not me, not mine, not myself. So that is why the Buddha says, when the pleasurable feeling happens, when the painful feeling happens, observe them as feeling, don't have a choice for the pleasure and the dislike for the pain. If that is the case, you get committed. Because even the pleasure, as it coming, it is pleasurable. When it goes, it's a pain. Even the pain, as it come, it is pain. When it's going, it's a pleasure. So sum total is the equal. Not only that, if you give an equal approach to the pain and the pleasure, it's still at the beginning at the theoretical level, you are invariably exposing to the no pain, no pleasure combination. If you are possessed and obsessed only for the pleasure or pain, you will never get a chance to see the middle part, no pain, no pleasure. So therefore, choicelessness awareness is coined by that Ken Wilber, and then onward many insight meditators and those who wish to go, they took it as yet another way of expressing the mindfulness. And exactly the same, you have some other synonyms, as I mentioned, the evenly suspended attention, the unassuming, non-reactional, and non-judgmental, non-decisive approach. So this, in the Buddhist literature, you find it as apannaka patipada. That is the first Jataka story in the Jatakas, apannaka Jataka. He says that in Sinhala, It has been translated as Aviruddha Pratipada. I don't know how some may try to translate it into English. Aviruddha Pratipada, not antagonizing anything. Not going against anything, accepting as they are. Don't choice, don't antagonize it. Choiceless awareness is a kind of positive way of presenting. Apannaka Pratipada is not doing rejection. Accept the totality. Accept the thing as it is, as a total. Don't say this is good, this is bad. This is, if at all it is happening through your perception. That perception you can't guarantee is enlightened one. It's a corrupted one. It's a rut. So therefore you have to you have to train yourself not to exercise this will, the intention, the perception, and see things as they are. So it says that young children, the babies, they don't have perception. They don't have will. They don't have any intention because they don't know good and bad. So therefore, they never create a problem in the world. As we grow up, what happens? So much of problem. We feel we are learning, we feel we are educated, we feel we are cultured, we are moneyed and all the kind of thing. But more and more you go there, more and more problems. So choiceless awareness is going back to the child psychology and see everything is much greener, non-reactional, non-rejection, and that is a Western way of understanding the mindfulness. So maybe some my thoughts, some my ideas also to contribute to this or to criticize this. So what is the singular word for it? I will say choiceless awareness vaguely, Aviruddha Pratipada. Not antagonizing anything. Let it happen as its totality. Totality. Never try to say this is good, this is bad. Things are happening according to the Dhammata. We have, that I will guarantee, complete the ability to accept it. Don't try to be smart. Employ this ability to accept as it is, then your mind becomes broader, least impact, least amount of commitment, and the least amount of regret. Telling that I selected this and it is wrong kind of thing. It's when things are happening, anything goes. Please illustrate with one or two examples. I think this information will help you that to get examples because we have taken enough time for that question. Venerable Bhante, we do 2 to 3 hours of meditation per day without much success for a long period. In your experience, what is the best period, 3 or 6 months, for a full-time yogi, 10 hours a day, to at least to obtain first Maggaphala or so on? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So try to have a course so that you can go Sotapan. I will give a little narration about that. This is a rational way of answering, questioning. For the first time, you can read it in the internet. It's a Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. They have published it and it is very old. Still you can download. There had been one gold medalist swimmer girl in Canada, and she's sure that she will be selected for the Olympic, and therefore she was practicing with a professional guide. And whatever may be, when at the national level, in the swimming pool, there are 2 marks, and if you hit the mark with the hand, that will be disqualified. So she was not taken seriously. While going for the national level, she has hit this thing. And she says it was like an electric shock. She disqualified and she cut off from the list. And that was the end. And she was crying for years, no practicing and completely depressed and lost. But the instructor was telling, this is one chance, why don't you go? She says, no morality to go. And he also some or the other tried to cope up with the girl. And he came to know some neuroscientists are going to meet Dalai Lama, His Holiness Dalai Lama in the Tibet, and go and have a meditation course. But that particular person lost the chance. But some or the other, this team has gone there, and Dalai Lama has given 3 people for their live examples to check them, so they can scan the brains and see how the meditators' brains are working. Out of the 3 yogis, His Holiness presented, the brain scientists have seen, usually their left hemisphere is the working part, right is not working, that is the rational world. But out of these 3, 2 completely shifted the attention to the right side, and their left side is not much working. They see the world in totality, and very aesthetic, never make any friction, and they are in ease. And then it was an amazing thing for the American scientists to see this kind of a thing. And then after getting all the photos and kind of thing, they have a discussion with the Dalai Lama. And then say, Bhante, this is a miracle. We have checked all the brains. This is only the left side is working. Right, never. Right is factory fresh. Everyone's. Never used. Only the left side. And then Dalai Lama has told they have done Tungbo meditation. And that is how it happens. Then there is this question asked. How many hours or how can we also do this? Dalai Lama says yes. How many hours? This is 10,000 hours. Simple. You do 10,000 hours of Tumbo meditation, definitely you will come. And all the Americans are so disheartened because 10,000 in the American hours, no. Then they have the compromise with Dalai Lama. He says, the method is there. The acceleration, no concentration, I don't know. To keep on doing, you won't believe, out of the population of Tibetan population, at least 1% is above already now. Because they are lamas, they are always meditating. So it is also a shocking news for the Americans, because they think they are the first world people, new world people, and they are the leading people in the world. But this nation is the in exile, that they are meditating and they are there. So when they go back, some or the other, they tried to give the maximum facilities, best teachers and everything, and how the meter, the scanner can see the shift from the right to the left to the right. They have found 3 months of meditation continuously. That means intensive meditation with the teachers and guiders. 3 months time, a meter or scanner can understand the shift. And they found that for 3 months also, it is not a good idea for the Americans. So later they found, they came back, how much time you need for the yogi himself to understand there is something happening. And they have come to the agreement that 3 10-day retreats. After 3 10-day retreats, the yogi can understand whether it's worthwhile, it's an investment or not. And then they started the programming, 3 10-day retreats, and they started to give, and people also coming, and they charged, and they're going on. And the instructor came to know and went to the girl and told, there's a hope, and you can awakening your other part of the brain, and which is very energetic, creative, totality, and that is what you lost, morality, you can go. And she has gone the first 10-day retreat. And so much of confidence that girl got it, and she made up the mind to go for again for the practice. And then she went to the district level and easily she won. And then before going to second retreat, she has faced for the national level and easily she got it. And then the Broadcasting Corporation came and asked her for an interview, and there she is telling the story. And then onward the article is going on how the particular person coming from normal tense life undertaking this kind of meditation and feel that he or herself can have a meaningful experience, a worthwhile investment, and simple by Anapana, simple by the breath. So that article is there and you can read it, and still they have not found a method for how to become Sotapanna and what much of time. So, I mean, we may do it by the time we are practicing, but for the moment, this question is the rational question. We are in a supply and demand world. So, therefore, any amount you may pay, telling that if one can become Sotapanna. The Sotapanna is falling into the river. So, that is a simple thing. You can just push one into the river and you can get the money also. So, that is also possible ways. So, therefore, the method is there and people are testing it from all the sides. Each and every critical testing is positive. So therefore, don't be stingy regarding the time. Why you are so worrying is that use the best of the time, rest of the time for sense pleasure. That is why you are squeezing the time for Sotapanna. So where are we? What is that? After becoming Sotapanna, what to do? Go and again indulging the Sotapanna level of sense pleasure. So that is the way, and it's excusable because problem is asking from the defiled mind and coming from the samsaric, the pool. So therefore, analyzing the problem itself, you can see how is your appreciation for this renunciation and how is the appreciation for the sense pleasure. Mind is always thinking from the point of view of the sense pleasure. So therefore, change your perspective and you will see that even 1 hour, even 2 hours, without the results, at least you are not committing physical and verbal misdeeds in sitting. If you are not doing, who the hell can make sure that we will not commit physical and verbal misdeeds for 1 hour? Impossible in this world. So, value it in the appreciable way, in the productive way. Sitting means at least you are not gossiping. And at least you have not even unintentional lying. No harsh words. No sexual misconduct. No killing. No stealing. That itself is enough. Rather than going to measure it on the other way. So always you have to be positive thinking. And see the love spots, see a reason to be glad rather than these disappointments. This is the change in happening, immediate thing happening in the Vipassana meditation. Garu Swamin answer, once you come out of jhana, how can you do Vipassana? In the other word, what should you do after coming out of jhana? Please explain. The short answer is, if you go to the jhana with the help of anapanasati, after coming out of the jhana, you have the good concentration again, focus the attention to the anapana. That's a vayopotthabha dhatu. This is called rupa way or material way. Or otherwise you can, after coming out of the jhana, you can contemplate upon the piti, sukha and that kind of a jhanic factor. That is the mentality. So you get a chance to enter into vipassana either way, in materialistic way or immaterial way. So same object, anapana itself will be a guideline. Venerable Bhante, could you please explain the difference between the mindfulness and concentration? I get confused with these two. Mindfulness and the concentration are two mental factors. Mindfulness means be in the present moment. Be here and now. Concentration means organizing and aligning all the mental factors so it will become one-directed and concentrated. The concentration, it have another synonym, samatha. Samatha, two meanings, social meaning also available. For example, we are in a meeting and I am conducting the meeting and one person come out with a proposal. And yet another person says, I am not happy with that proposal, I am having another proposal. Then in order to proceed the meeting, one or the other proposal has to second, and otherwise people will talking, no samatha. There is no samatha, there is no agreement. So then the discussant has to tell, if we are to proceed, either reject or accept one of them and then we'll go ahead. Just keep on talking, no problem. No end. So likewise he has to make the members understand you have to come to an agreement for the next event to happen. That agreement means that all come and say, we accept that proposal and we reject that proposal. And then don't know it's proceeding. Likewise our mind has Abhidhamma way and the commentary way, 52 mental factors, they are always fighting each other. There are no peace, internal war, always. But when the concentration happens, everything gets aligned to one object. Mindfulness is the one, it knows whether it is fighting each other or come into a line with, and because it is just be in the present moment. So therefore, mindfulness is called as sati, concentration is samadhi, two aspects. Mindfulness is the proximate factor for the concentration to happen. Okay, that's all the English questions. So we are going to wind up today's work. We will share the merits with all the seen and unseen beings and with the relatives and the straightening of our objectives. With that idea, we will recite the stanza and finish the